Welcome to the As Yet Untitled podcast.
With your hosts, Tony and Shaun.
Welcome to season 2.
Yeah, season 2.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen season 1, watch it. But in the meantime,
You're here.
yeah, you're here. We are bigger and better than ever. So we've got a nice improved setup, so we should sound a little bit better.
Hopefully, anyway.
And if you're not listening to us on a streaming service, well, you can now. Before, season 1 was all on YouTube, but we're now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all of the different podcast places.
Everywhere you can get your podcasts, really.
Yeah. So go follow us on your favourite podcast sites. We'll be bringing out an episode twice a month, so roughly fortnightly, with the odd gap every now and then for like Christmas and stuff.
Because we would like a holiday too.
Yeah. And if you've not listened to us before, basically this podcast is about anything we want it to be. It's our opinions. We give you some fun facts. We talk about a different topic each episode.
Yeah, we just like to go quite varied with it. Films, life, anything else that we really want to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it because we can.
Also, let us know what you think of our new theme song. We didn't have a theme song last time.
Oh yeah, we have a new theme song.
Composed by me, the most talented of composers, obviously, as you just heard.
Most definitely.
I also recorded the drums for it, and the bass was done by the wonderful Tom Parsons. Shout out, thank you very much. And it was mixed and mastered by Ollie Williamson. So thank you very much. You made it sound so much better than when I recorded it. Let us know what you think of the theme song. Anyway.
Swiftly moving on.
Oh, actually, before we get started, we've also got social media pages and stuff now.
Oh yeah.
So on Facebook and Instagram mainly.
Yeah, so on Facebook, Instagram, we might branch out to Twitter if either of us actually used Twitter, and you can find us at the As Yet Untitled podcast.
Yeah, so follow us, like us, all that good stuff. Share us with your friends. Anyway. Today's episode number 1 of season 2.
Woo!
What are we talking about, Tony?
Today we're talking about our favourite animals, and this might not be the only time that we're going to do it because narrowing this down was pretty hard.
Yeah, there are a lot of awesome animals out there. Yeah,
so we might be doing part 1 and part 2 for this episode just to...
We'll see.
Keep it real.
We'll see how it goes. If you enjoyed this episode, then tell us and we will make a part 2 because there are so many cool animals out there.
And let us know if you have any of your own favourite animals that you would like us to know about. Share some fun facts and you never know, we might like them too.
Yeah. If there's any animals that we mention that are also your favourites or you have fun facts we don't mention, please tell us. We want to know.
Because fun facts are fun.
Yeah. So,
hence the name.
Order of this. I think we're going to go smallest to largest on average. Yeah? We'll try and take it in turns, but we'll try and go smallest to largest. So, I'm gonna take the lead here, because I know that I have the smallest animal on here.
Definitely.
So, my smallest animal is the tardigrade.
Oh wait, no, before we go into this, we also need to include the fact that we are including insects in this list.
Insects, microorganisms, the whole shebang, really.
If it's living, and it's not a plant, we're counting it.
Yeah, for the most part.
I want to say.
So, tardigrades. So, yeah, they're a microorganism. They're also called water bears or sometimes moss piglets.
Oh my god, I love it.
They are the most adorable microorganism ever. So, for those of you that haven't seen them, you need to look at a Google image search of them because they're just little chubby, six-armed, bear-looking creatures, basically. They are so cool. They are not closely related to anything else on Earth. Like, they are more separate from any other species on Earth than anything else.
That's mad.
Yeah, and they've lived, like, basically forever. So they're around 50 to 1,200 microns in size. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's very, very small. They live in water, or on, like, thin films of water on land, and they occupy almost every part of Earth, including Antarctica. They are literally everywhere.
Good for them.
Yeah. They have 2 little eyes, which are literally made of a single photoreceptive cell each. So, like, our eyes are made of loads, obviously.
Yeah.
And so are most creatures, but they literally have 1 light receptor and each eye. That's what the little black dot is a little light receptor.
Wow.
Yeah. And they are known for being immortal. That's kind of not true. They're not immortal, but they are pretty damn close to it. They can survive almost every environment. So extreme pressure and extreme radiation, and that includes the vacuum of space. Yes, we have tested that. Not us personally. I wish we could. But yeah, they can survive the vacuum of space. They can survive extreme heat and extreme cold. So from minus 200 degrees to 150 degrees Celsius, they can survive. And they basically use a process, I believe it's called cryptobiosis, where they basically just stop themselves from living. They just dry themselves out. And then they just wait until there's enough water and oxygen again, and it's like survivable, and then they just come back.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But they're not immortal. Like, they regularly get eaten by other microorganisms, and they can die for sure. But they are one of the hardiest creatures in existence, and they're cute as hell.
They are really. I also like that in Kipo, Age of the Wonder Beasts.
Yeah,
they have
brilliant TV show.
Yeah, it's a brilliant show. And an animated series on Netflix. Go watch that if you're going to. They have a tardigrade, don't they?
Yeah, one of the characters, Mulholland, is a
Mulholland.
community of tardigrades.
Yeah, who is just one sentient being when they're all together, which is just fun.
Yeah, he's a cool character. Right, so is yours? You go for your smallest one.
My smallest one is a bee.
Okay, I've got a smaller one, but you go for it.
Alright, well, I decided to look at bees because I like bees. I have a little one tattooed as a part of my tattoo. His name is Bob the Bee.
Thanks to my brilliant naming.
Yeah. And I guess I just mostly went for honeybees, but I do like bees in general. All bees are good. I have no problem with any bees. So, just a couple of fun facts for you there. Just one that a lot of people know. Honeybees make 1 in 3 of the meals that humans eat possible.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have honeybees, 1/3 of the food on our plates wouldn't be there.
Wouldn't exist because of their pollination.
Yeah, because of that, they are the most efficient pollinators on Earth.
They are badass little guys.
Yeah, which is great when you just look at them. Like, they're so small and they're just going around making making humans food, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, they just do so much for us. Also, another fun fact I found out, they have 4 wings. I didn't know this, but I don't know if this is a common piece of knowledge for people, but I didn't actually notice that they have 4 wings rather than just 2. And when they are still, it looks like they have 2 because the second set are kind of like clipped underneath the first pair. So they look like they only have 2 wings, but when they have actually got 4.
What?
Yeah.
That's like all honeybees or just like a certain species?
I think it's all of them. Because they're going to need it to help them fly.
Well, I guess.
Maybe that makes more sense as to why bumblebees, because when you look at bumblebees, you look at them and by all means they should not be flying.
Yeah.
So maybe they do have the extra pair as well.
Maybe.
Like, this would just make more sense. Like, I didn't find it,
I thought they just had a very clever, like, mechanism of using it.
No, it's the secret wings.
The secret wings. Okay.
And also, if a queen dies in a colony, the worker bees will then pick just a random larva out of all of the ones that are growing and feed it the royal jelly.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. Yeah.
They would feed it specifically royal jelly.
Just like a really super nutrient dense version of what they would feed any bee.
And then it would just turn it into a queen bee, so it would make it bigger and stronger, and then it would just become the queen bee. And that's so insane to me that it had already been technically born, but not. And then it's just like, oh, here's some special food, and you're now royalty.
Yeah. Well, that's how a lot of insects deal with things. They will just give more if they're a hive or some kind of group. They will give the extra nutrients to one to make it the one that is going to be going to be reproducing and doing everything. Because it's not necessarily they're in control. It's just that they are the one that are doing all the reproduction. So they're doing the most work, really.
Yeah.
Any other cool bee facts?
Not really. I just feel like bees are just they're a very well appreciated insect.
Oh yeah, everyone loves bees.
We need to do more to protect them, but they're appreciated pretty well, and I feel like a lot of bee knowledge is common knowledge.
A lot of the animals on this list are going to be endangered or in decline because humans suck, and we need to do more about it.
Yep.
So donate to charities, people. All kinds of charities, any of them, all of them. Help us. Okay, right. So I'll go for my next one. So mine are slightly smaller, but also kind of larger in their colonies. So these are weaver ants.
I know of these guys.
They are incredible. So obviously smaller than bees, but they are in massive colonies, like ridiculously huge. So they're found in India, Sri Lanka, Southern Asia, Northern Australia, and Melanesia. Slightly different species of them, but they're all weaver ants, and they're essentially the high elves of the ant kingdom. So they are like ridiculously talented architects and expansionist warriors. So they have like long legs, slender bodies, and large eyes, and these like really strong mandibles, and they can shoot acid. They vary in colour from dark brown to emerald green, and what makes them so awesome, essentially, is that they build their homes themselves, and they build them in shrubs and up to heights around 10 metres in the air in trees, and they make it out of basically giant leaves that they curl up, and then they grab the larvae, and the larvae usually make a kind of silk that they use to protect themselves. Well, basically, these ants use the larvae as little glue guns. So they pick them up, tap them on the head, and then they squirt the little silk. So they make these massive leaf nests out of leaves and silk from their own larvae.
And they do get really big, don't they? Like
Yeah.
the nests. They are they are
hefty.
impressive.
Yeah. And they make like separate rooms and stuff inside. But they don't just have one nest. So they make the one nest, and then they will expand out, and then they'll make more nests, and they'll basically cover like loads and loads of hundreds of thousands of square meters, and have nests dotted around. And some of the nests will be used as barracks, some will be like breeding nests, and there'll be all different things, and there'll be one central nest where the queen is.
Yeah.
And like she'll, produce all of the brood or the larvae, and then they'll get taken to other breeding nests where they've got like special brooding chambers to keep them going. But anyway, like the biggest ever colony that we know of is 1,600 square meters, which is the size of 4 basketball courts.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they have big kingdoms.
Not the biggest of ant colonies, because isn't there the one that's like expanding across like half the world?
Well, it kind of depends. These are the biggest like single colonies that there are.
Yeah, and then the other one is just like the species separation.
Yeah.
How far the species are spread. Never mind, don't listen to me. I'm not full of facts.
So colonies usually have like around 500,000 individuals. And as well as being these awesome architects, they also are little farmers. They cultivate caterpillars and aphids, and they farm them for their honeydew.
Yeah.
So they eat so they basically protect and breed these aphids and caterpillars, and then get the honeydew from them. It's ridiculous.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. And anything that tries to eat them, they will destroy and eat themselves, essentially. But so they don't really have that many predators. Their main competition actually come from other weaver ant colonies, because much like humans, they go to war with each other for land. So they are just expanding as much as they can, and then as soon as another weaver colony finds them, they will basically go to war with each other. And when one ant sees another colony, they will emit like a pheromone, which basically summons an army of ants from nearby barracks to protect and attack the other ants. And they burn each other by squirting formic acid at each other.
Yeah.
And like thousands of ants die in these battles. It's like massive, like huge scale battles. Weaver ants are awesome. They are my favourite ants. They're my favourite insect. Well, bees are pretty cool.
Bees are pretty cool. Like, the fact is, it's just with these ants, they are so complex.
Yeah.
That you don't expect this level of...
Yeah.
Like, just...
tool use and building and farming and war.
I can't quite describe it, because it is very like human-like with how they do go to war for land, and
and the way the communities and societies work.
They farm, they tool, like they use all this. Just all of this stuff is very relatable, and it's just so odd to see that in an ant. But anyway, moving on to a slightly different thing. Just looking now, I didn't write the size of these.
Smart.
But I now don't know which one of these is the bigger one, so I'm gonna go for the insect out of these two.
Okay.
Which is atlas moths.
Oh, they're pretty big.
I got a bit of an appreciation of these when I was playing Animal Crossing. Apparently they're really rare to catch. caught one in my first week.
All right, sure.
And they just look really cool. They're really big moths.
They're the world's biggest moth, right?
Yeah, they're huge. And they have this really pretty pattern. Like, it's not an overwhelming one to look at. It's got a lot of neutral tones, and it's got like the little bits that look like eyes because, well, what moth doesn't? Like, but it looks quite terrifying. But it was just recently when we was watching a documentary, I realized how awesome these little guys are because, you know, they do their normal thing. They're a caterpillar. They go into their cocoon. But then when they come out, they don't have a mouth. So they just go off, they fly, hang out on a tree, and then their only purpose in their entire existence is to reproduce.
Yeah.
So they don't eat or anything. It's just go find a place that is safe for you to have children, and then
have them and die.
yeah. So like the female will be the one to mostly just stay on. Like the female's bigger, and it will stay on a tree, and then the male will come over to it. They will mate, and instantly the male will die. The female will then lay her eggs, and then also die.
Yeah.
And then that's it. The cycle begins again, and it's just so insane to think about this because it's just they don't have mouths.
Mm-hmm.
They're an entire creature. Like you would.
Well, it's only that part of their life cycle.
But
Because it's the end part of their life cycle.
I know, but you would think that, you know, they go through to becoming this beautiful moth, this beautiful massive thing. You'd think they'd get a little bit more time with it, but no.
Nah.
I feel like I didn't see how long they actually are alive as moths for, but I feel like they've best got a couple of hours. And that's just not okay.
This is just conjecture. You don't know
Yeah,
that.
I don't know this. I don't know. I've got to quickly...
Such thorough research was done.
I know. It's because we watched the thing the other day, so I was like, oh, I'm sure I remember enough of it, and then I just forgot. But...
I think it just said 4 months their life cycle is. Scroll back up. Look. Did it say it?
No, it didn't.
Oh. I don't know where I saw 4 months.
But yeah, it is just really weird, and they're about the span of, like, a human hand. Their wingspan is about a human hand, and they, like, don't...
I think it's a bit bigger than...
A little bit bigger, but, like, average size between,
it's
like, the
24
mouth.
centimetres. That's bigger than a human hand, right?
I guess, like, depends on what way you're measuring it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, like, this would be...
It's
yeah,
big.
Long ways. They're pretty damn big. But
Okay.
yeah,
Any other fun facts about them?
not particularly. I just think it's really cool that they exist without mouths. That is the main reason
Don't
I
they
think
have,
they're
like,
cool.
really big migration patterns as well, or am I thinking of...
I think that's something else that you're thinking of. Like, I feel like these mostly just hang out in jungles.
Okay. Yeah, there's not that many jungles to migrate from.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one. We're going over to mammals now. The first mammal, right, of our lists?
Yeah.
Yeah? And it's one of my favourite, and it always has been, even since I was a kid. And that's meerkats.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so they're like around 10 inches. They live in large communities. And the reason why I first started loving them is from the TV show Meerkat Manor, which basically followed these meerkat families, and like they were all just like, they had such human characteristics. I just loved it. It was such a good TV show. You should definitely check it out. But yeah, they stand on their rear legs, which is what, you know, the most famous thing that they do is the little meerkat starts where they stand on their rear legs and they're like surveying the African plains for predators. And then they like do these loud ass squeaks to warn the communities of like birds of prey, like hawks and eagles. And it's just awesome. And like they take it in turns to do that while the others are foraging for like insects, fruit, small lizards, birds, rodents, and they even like hunt scorpions. They're like pretty good hunters.
Yeah.
And they hunt in like groups as well because they're
really-
such communal species.
I wouldn't really think of them as hunters. I don't even think of them as
Yeah.
something that eats something other than plants.
No, they eat
weird,
mostly
yeah.
insects and stuff like that because there's a lot of them around in the deserts that they live in.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of plants. But they live in like these big burrows of like complex tunnel systems that stay cool thanks to like, you know, clever architecture essentially. And they communicate using purring sounds.
Oh, hell
It's
yeah.
just so cute. But yeah, they're among like the most cooperative animals on the planet.
Corrupt.
Corrupt. Corrupt little meerkats. No, they are like ridiculously cooperative and communal. And they all sleep in one big furry pile of up to like 40 meerkats in a burrow. So they
that's
just
the
curl up
dream.
together as 40 little fluffy meerkats. And the reason why they're so good at like hunting scorpions and stuff is because they're immune to venom.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Uh-huh. They also don't drink water. Even though they live in a desert. They don't drink water because they get all of the moisture and water that they need from their diet. Which is
They
crazy.
are so efficient.
Yeah. And as big groups, they can even like fight off jackals if they need to.
Wow.
Yeah. Just together, they just like, bully them to get away from the burrow, essentially. So cool.
Like, I wouldn't think of them as, like, for lack of a better word, that badass of an animal. Like,
Yeah, they're cute little badasses. They're brilliant.
that is actually really just insane. Just... because I just see them, like, I've seen them in zoos, and, like, they're often in, like, like, the petting zoos that have, like, just, like, cows and farm animals around. People often keep meerkats there for some reason.
I haven't seen that.
And there's a place near where we used to live in Essex that had like one of these like little petting zoo kind of things.
Where was
and they
that?
had meerkats. I can't remember where it's called.
You're on about Colchester Zoo?
No, I'm not on about
Okay, I was going to say,
Colchester
Colchester
Zoo,
Zoo is very famous.
It was definitely called a farm.
Marsh Farm?
Marsh Farm. Yeah, I think it was Marsh Farm.
I don't
They had
remember
meerkats.
I don't remember that.
I think
Mad.
I think it was a newer development. But
I don't
yeah,
think meerkats should be kept in those sort of places.
they shouldn't be in England.
Well, no, that's true. That's very true. They should be in Africa, in deserts.
Yeah. So I just always think of them as a really domesticated in a way. Not
No,
domesticated, but
very
like
much
such
not
a
so.
such a friendly, just like nothing. I didn't think they would be able to survive in any kind of difficult situation.
Yeah,
let alone
they're
being
always surviving in difficult
immune
situations.
to venom.
Yeah.
That's
They're out there killing scorpions,
yeah.
fighting off jackals.
They're living their best lives.
So what's your next one?
So the reason why I wasn't sure about if my previous one was bigger or if this one was is because my next one is a puffin.
I feel like puffins are a little bit bigger than an atlas moth.
Well, when I was looking at it, it compared a puffin to the size of a teacup, and it pretty much was the size of 2 teacups.
Oh, so maybe they're about the same.
Yeah, so they was like they're pretty small.
They're it'll.
So main thing I feel like almost everyone knows about puffins is that they are very social. They hang out just in they like hanging out in large groups, but also they just like being with each other. It's just nice.
Well, they wouldn't survive on their own. They're
yeah,
tiny.
exactly. Yeah, but they do spend a lot of time actually at sea alone, just hunting, getting there, like just feeding. So I didn't really think about this, like because when you see puffins, you obviously see pictures of them on land because you don't really see pictures of many birds out at sea, but puffins spend most of their time out at sea.
Like flying or like on the waves.
So that's what I couldn't quite tell. But it was definitely like they are just out around oceans to feed.
Okay.
And then they only...
So they eat fish and that's it?
Yeah. And then they only will go to land, which is usually on cliff sides, to mate and breed. And both the male and the female will feed the babies, like feed the chicks, and they will also both incubate the chicks.
Yeah, similar to like penguins.
Yeah.
They do the same.
And with the size of their beak, because they've got quite large beaks compared to the size of their bodies, they will actually hold quite a few fish inside their beak, ready for feeding their young. So where some will just have like one fish or like just barely be able to bring much food back for them, they will store the fish inside their beak, ready to feed.
So instead of regurgitating, or as well as regurgitating.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And this is something that blew my mind when I found this out during my research. They can live up to 30 years.
What?
These tiny
They're
little
tiny
things.
birds. 30 years.
30 years.
Well, I guess parrots can live for a very long time as well.
But they just seem like, I don't know, this is another animal where I just look at it as so innocent.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how are they just living this
I don't know if I'm going to survive to 30.
Yeah, this bird's just out there living its best life. Also, just another fun little fact, just to spread it out there. breeding season, during breeding season, the male's beak will change colour.
From what to what?
I think it's from like an orange to like a bluey colour.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was just an interesting thing. Just like
Why?
just guess males need to
It's
have
like,
a display when they're horny.
I'm ready for my time, so I'm showing you my blue beak.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. My next one are very similar actually to meerkats. They're kind of the meerkats of water, and these are, I think, possibly my all-time favorite animal, because I feel like I have a spirit bond with these animals.
Of course you do. I know what this is.
Otters. I love otters. I'm not going to talk about any particular otter because there's 13 different species and I love them all. So they're a member of the weasel family. They're found on every continent apart from Australia and Antarctica, like different species of them. They live in lakes, rivers, wetlands, and obviously oceans as well for the sea otters. They have webbed feet and strong tails, which make them like ridiculously powerful swimmers. And their ears and nostrils close up when they go underwater to prevent water getting in, which is mental.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know if you have this written down. Are they in the species pinniped?
I don't have it written down.
Because I
don't think so.
I think in my research, pinnipeds are water-dwelling animals or like mammals with webbed feet.
Well,
That's
they do
all I
have
think
webbed
it is. So I'm not sure.
I don't think they are.
I just wanted to ask just in case you did write it down.
No, I don't think they are. But yeah, they also have waterproof fur, and it's the densest fur of any animal.
Wow.
Yeah, which is why they were often like hunted for their fur, almost to the point of extinction, which is a bit shitty. But yeah, they have really dense fur, which they groom most of the time, and that's why they stay warm no matter what, and it helps with the waterproofingness. And most otters actually give birth on land. Like every otter, except from the sea otter, give birth on land. So sea otters give birth in the water because they're badass. And their babies are called pups or kittens.
Oh my god, a little otter kitten.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So like river otters will also sometimes take up residence in like empty dens that have been abandoned, or even sometimes move in with friendly beavers. So they'll just live in a den with some beavers if the beavers are cool with it.
Nice.
And they're also obviously like really playful. They're known for this. Their squeaks are super adorable. And they also often have favorite like little rocks that they play with and they collect and like trade with others.
Don't they also have like that specific rock for opening up food? So it's like that.
The sea otters.
Oh.
Sea otters will, I don't think they have necessarily a rock, but they will have rocks and they will lay upside down on their bellies and then they'll smack open mollusks to eat the inside.
Yeah.
So they use tools because they're smart. A group of sea otters, when it's in the water, is called a raft. And when they're on land, they're called a romp. Or sometimes a bevy or a family. Not sure why.
A little bevy of yours.
And sea otters are like super helpful for ecosystems because they eat sea urchins, which help kelp beds and basically the entire surrounding ecosystem.
Yeah, because sea
urchins,
they are like an invasive species.
Yeah, they're an invasive species, exactly.
Having something to get rid of them. We need to farm otters so that they can get rid of
I'm
sea
down
urchins.
for that. But yeah, so...
Retirement plan.
And the reason why they're called a raft when they're on the ocean is because when they like sleep, they tangle themselves together and then tangle themselves to kelp so they don't all float away.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Just
it's
like
so
one
cute.
Huge.
Yeah, one huge group of otters. Also, I have a cool story about otters.
All right. Yes.
When I went on holiday to France with my friend Mike years ago. Shout out to Mike. And he wanted to go fishing, and I'm not a big fan of fishing, but I was like, fine, I'll come with you. So it was early in the morning, like really hours in the morning, and we went over to a lake near where we was, and he was fishing, and I was like, I'm bored, I'm going for a walk. So I started walking around the lake, and I shit you not, an otter, and I know it was an otter because I found out later that day, jumped out of the water and accidentally like hit into me. It didn't realise I was there and it basically attacked me. It didn't actually attack me, but I mean I definitely probably scared it more than it scared me, but it jumped out at the water and like basically hit me and then like dived straight back in and shat itself. And obviously it was early hours in the morning, it was silent, and otter just dived out of the water at me, so I almost fucking had a heart attack. But ever since then I feel like I am one with the otters.
You shared your soul with it in that moment.
Yeah. But I remember after that, we went back and, like, told the story, and his uncle was like, "It definitely isn't otters because there's no otters here. It must have been a vole or something." I was like, "I know an otter when I see one, mate." And then later on, he went down to the lake and then saw one and was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. That was an otter." I was like, "Yeah, bitch."
That's what I thought.
just because you're an adult and I was a child doesn't mean I don't know myself an otter when I see one. So yeah, that's my otterness. What's your next?
I thought just while you were talking about that, I would find out if otters were pinnipeds. They're not.
No.
But then that led to a different Google search, which is it legal to touch a manatee with one hand?
What?
So if you touch a manatee with two hands, it's illegal because of their endangered species.
Oh, okay.
So you're only allowed to touch a manatee with one hand, and it has to touch you first.
So you can high five a manatee.
Yes.
Well, that's on my bucket list. I want to high five a manatee. Why was you googling a manatee?
No, so I wasn't. It came up as a
Came up. It came up.
It came up as one of the people also ask things on Google. So I just thought I would share that nice fun fact because that is more interesting than most of the things I found out here.
Oh. Wow. Way to keep people engaged. Okay, what's your next one?
So I'm gonna go for one of mine is a very broad one, so I'm gonna leave that for my next one. But I'm gonna go for house cats. I like house cats.
Yeah, house cats are great.
Person. So a lot of us know cats, house cats.
Yes, I am aware of house cats.
But you walk down the street, it's a fairly good chance you're going to see a cat. So a lot of people know a lot about cats, so it was difficult to find any information that
was a bit outside the cat box.
Yeah, that people don't actually know about cats. So first off, I just want to point out the fact that we know currently less about house cats than we know about any cat in the wild.
What?
So because of the behaviour of domesticated cats is so varied and it's so different to every single cat, there is no way to actually know anything about their behaviour.
I get that kind of makes sense because we've domesticated so many different species or subspecies of cat now, whereas the wild ones have stayed as they were because they're wild. It's similar as how we've made about 1 million different types of dog. And
the way that they all have different ways of their different environments within their own homes. How if we was to have a cat, it would be completely different to if our next door neighbour had a cat.
Yeah, I guess.
So actually understanding.
But they're more learned behaviours than actual DNA genetic changes. Yeah,
but because it's all of the behaviours are different, we don't actually know enough about them to be able to definitively say why any cat does anything.
So we need to fund more cat research. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
People out there, researchers, scientists, please
find out more about our house cat.
We need cat research.
There is one thing that some people have found within behaviour, though. There's a couple of things, that people have a very fair assumption that they know this is what cats are doing and why. And that is that there is a reason that cats like boxes, and that's because it helps them to keep warm.
I fits, I sits.
Yes. It's because cats always want to be warm. I understand that. They like to just be all snuggled up and warm.
Like most cats.
Yeah. They like to find a nice, comfy place to sit that keeps their body heat in. So domesticated cats will sit in boxes because they enjoy the warmth that they get from it because their body's all bundled up, and then it's kind of like a little incubation area. But also, just another fact that I did not know, so when I found this out I thought it was interesting. Most people think that cats were first domesticated in Egypt. Would you say you had this?
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good guess. That would be my guess.
So most people believe that they were domesticated first in Egypt around 4,000 years ago, but there is new evidence that they were actually first domesticated in China 5,400 years ago.
China always doing stuff first, didn't they?
So that is a 1,400 year difference into what we first thought were domesticated cats.
Probably different species of cat, I imagine.
Probably, but this the first signs of people keeping them as pest control.
I mean, the Egyptians took it pretty far with it, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Treating them as gods.
I understand.
Okay.
So yeah, because they were kept as pest control for mostly getting rid of rodents because rodents are a lot more abundant.
Yeah.
I guess it was in China. They was like, well, the cats seem to enjoy getting rid of them, so we're gonna keep them.
Okay.
But yeah.
So my next one is actually slightly bigger than a cat, and you wouldn't think
Slightly?
it because it's a bat.
What?
Yep. So it's a fruit bat, specifically flying foxes. It's a subspecies of fruit bat, because there's a load of different fruit bats, called flying foxes. It's categorized as a mega bat, and I'm just saying mega bat is a pretty fucking cool name. It's the largest flying mammal in the world. Some fruit bats are only like 2 inches long, whereas others are, like the fruit bat, are about 5 foot wingspan. 5 foot wingspan.
Yeah, that is impressive.
Yeah. So they have like a really great sense of smell, and really big eyes that are really good at seeing things because they don't use echolocation.
So
a lot of other bats.
Everything that everyone knows about bats, these ones are like, no.
Well, actually, so bats aren't blind. That's a myth. There are no bats that are blind. Almost every bat has eyes and can see okay. They don't rely on their eyes because most bats use echolocation or their ears more so. But the larger species, or species that eat fruits and nectar, like flying foxes, may actually be able to see better than humans can. They probably can see better than humans, and they don't use echolocation, but they rely on smell. So they have like big ass noses, and they can smell their fruit and stuff like that instead.
That's cool.
But yeah, so as well as that, they have these ridiculously super long tongues that roll up inside them and are stored internally around its rib cage.
Oh god.
So the tongue is stored wrapped around the rib cage, and then it rolls out to get nectar and the fruit and stuff.
So I was thinking when you first said about this, you know those little like party favor things that you get when you're doing them, like. Doo!
Well, it's essentially that, except it's stored it's stored wrapped around the rib cage, which is mental. But they're called flying foxes because they do literally look like foxes.
They're huge.
Yeah, they're big, fluffy, adorable foxes that can fly.
Are these the ones? I'm assuming these aren't the ones that people have mistaken for actual, like, human-sized bats, like those really terrifying bats that are...
There's, like, prehistoric ones, but these ones would be the closest thing, because these are the biggest bat and the biggest thing that can fly that is a mammal.
That would be terrifying.
Oh, yeah, they're big, and they're found in, like, parts of Australia, Africa, Asia, and the Middle East.
Of course they were in Australia.
Yeah. It depends on the specific species, really.
Yeah.
But they also hang out in, like, big numbers, so it's not like you'll find a few of these. You'll find loads of these fuckers all together. And they have, like, when they're hanging upside down, like every bat, they're big-ass wings that are, like, 5 foot across. They wrap around themselves to stay warm.
Oh, and like the normal, like, depiction of, like, a vampire.
Yeah, they, like, wrap their wings around them, and it basically just keeps them warm.
It's a built-in blanket.
Yeah, it literally is a blanket.
Living the dream.
And they're obviously nocturnal, like basically all bats. And yeah, they have started to live in cities with people because, well, people plant a lot of fruit trees, and they eat fruit, and also cities are really warm. So because like cities have this weird thing, is because of the way like the cement and the buildings are made of, they actually retain heat at night, so it's really warm at night, so bats love it there because it's warmer for them, and there's loads of fruit.
That's really cute.
Humans obviously don't like this very much, other than the ones that do like them because they eat them. They are endangered because some people are hunting them to eat them.
Oh no.
Yeah, fuck those people. And they can live, again, surprising one, they can live up to 30 years. So there's this 30-year-old huge ass 5 foot long wingspan bat going around, unfurling its tongue from its rib cage and eating some nectar and some fruits. And some dude comes along and tries to eat it. Leave that bat alone, man.
There are people who are probably hunting these that are younger than the bats.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's my favourite bat, and I love it. It's so cool, and they're so cute. You got to look at pictures of them.
Yeah.
I think they're adorable.
We'll be doing that.
So what's your next one? Is it bigger or smaller?
So I've gone... This is my one that is varied because I couldn't pick just one.
Okay.
And that is snakes.
all snakes?
Snakes. The reason I couldn't pick just one is because there are 3,000 species of snake.
Yeah.
Also, 700 of which are venomous.
Huh.
Which is actually quite low considering how many people are terrified of snakes because they are venomous. And it's like, well, there's only 700 of them. You know?
Yeah, most of them aren't. Most of them will just give you a little nip.
Or
strangle you to
yeah,
death.
or they'll strangle you, which is fine.
No, it's not.
Well, and to be fair, some of them won't even do that. They'll just eat you alive.
I don't like the idea of that either.
So yeah, some eat their prey live.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of how they are killing their prey, so suffocation, like strangling, venom, almost every snake will eat their prey whole.
Yeah.
So they will unhinge their
Well, it's
jaw.
hard to chew.
Yeah,
as a
really.
snake.
Yeah. So they will just unhinge their jaw and just kind of wrap around
Yeah.
whatever they're eating, which is just
My next animal also does that.
so snake
Snee snake.
sea snakes
Yeah.
are among the most venomous of all the snakes. So
Yeah.
the ones that you find near
They gotta
in
compete
the
with all
sea.
those other motherfuckers in the ocean.
Yeah, but these ones are actually not a threat to humans because their teeth are too weak. They can't penetrate our skin.
Huh.
So despite them being the most venomous,
Yeah.
they're not actually a threat. So we're not bothered by them.
Unlike the rest of the ocean.
Unlike specific shout out to one of the snakes that I can actually remember the name of, and that is the black mamba, who
Made
are
famous in Kill Bill.
who are definitely the most threatening to humans of the snake species, as their venom just, I can't remember which one it was. It was either it stops you from bleeding or you don't stop bleeding. But either way, you're not going to have a good chance if you get
Yeah, you
bitten by-
die pretty quick.
And with snakes, when they shed their skin, I just thought it might have been like, growing, how most things are when they shed their outer layer.
Yeah.
But they actually do it to avoid getting parasites.
That makes sense.
So anything that will get stuck on their skin, they'll shed about once a month. And it just,
Just like a clean-
refreshing. Just go, I just got to clean everything off, scrape it all off, and then that's it.
That makes sense.
Cool. And also, this is probably a common fact now to people, but two-headed snakes are real.
Yeah.
So, people used to believe that they were a myth, but they are real. They're quite rare. But they actually will fight themselves when it comes to getting food.
Idiots.
Despite it going all to the same digestive system, these two snakes, when going for prey, will see each other as a threat.
Yeah.
So they
want to taste it.
So they will fight for it, despite it all being.
That seems like a nightmare. Every time you want a snack, having to fight yourself for it.
It just sounds like being on a diet.
Yeah, screw that. I don't like the idea of that.
But yeah, I just think snakes are pretty cool. I prefer smaller snakes. I was going to have 2 of my own, but then I went off to uni, so I wasn't going to have a place to keep them. But just specific, if I was to pick a favourite, it would be corn snakes, the ones with the creamy colour and that slightly red colour.
Yeah, and they're also basically harmless in
Yeah.
every way.
And they just have the cutest little noses. They look if you actually...
I think our hamsters would disagree.
Yeah, they would. But snakes are cute. They are, in a very different way to mammals. They're just cute.
Anything
I like
else?
Snakes. I don't have anything else to say about them.
Okay. My next one is another one where I'm not going to talk about one specific species. I'm just going to talk about them in general, just like you did. So, owls.
Owls?
Owls.
Owl.
Such an annoying word to say, but they are my favourite bird, definitely, by far.
They are cool birds.
There are 220 different species of owls. That's why I couldn't choose one. In general, the females tend to be larger than the males.
Nice.
They're found on every continent except Antarctica, as usual. And they have the best night vision of any animal, which makes sense.
Yeah, their eyes are huge.
Yep. Baby owls are called owlets.
Aww.
Yeah, owls also, you probably know this, but owls can't move their eye sockets. So their eyes are set in their eyes, and that's why they move their heads.
Right.
So
Yeah,
they
that
can't
makes
move their
sense.
eyes around. They have to move their heads to look around, and they can turn their head up to 270 degrees. And they bob their heads up and down to improve their depth perception.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah, that's why they do that bobbing thing.
So as you said that, I was just thinking about that. I was like, so what is their like their eyes, for lack of a better word, like depth of field kind of thing? Like how do they focus on things?
Yeah, they focus by
wow.
bobbing their heads up and down, and it increases the depth perception. But their eyes are ridiculously good. Okay, also I've got another cool thing. A group of owls. In fact, try and guess it. Come on, try and guess what a group of owls is called if you don't know it already.
I don't know why. I'm just gonna say swarm. I can imagine like a swarm of owls.
No, it's the coolest thing ever.
I don't know.
They're called a parliament. It's a parliament of owls.
Nice.
And that originated from C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I just found that awesome.
Yeah.
And they're the fluffiest, cutest balls of cotton. They have the strongest grip out of any raptor. So a raptor is like a type of bird that has like specific
Claws.
like claws. Yep, they have the strongest. They have 8 times stronger than a human grip. Yeah.
What?
When you think of an owl killing something, you'd think maybe they use their beaks or something. No,
I would definitely think they would rip your throat out.
No, they pick whatever it is they're eating up and just crush it. And then they just swallow it whole. They just crush it in their grip, maybe tear it off if it's too big to swallow whole, but in general they just swallow them whole, and then they throw up a pellet of bones later, like a solid pellet of bones. They would just throw it up later.
What?
Yeah.
Like a little, like, I'm just trying to feel like a furnace where, like, you put the ores in and you come out with, like, a one brick of gold.
If you say so. And they have specialised feathers that allow them to fly silently.
Ooh.
And they also hear in a way that allows them to create a 3D map of their surroundings. So not only is their vision, like, impeccable, they can hear, like, perfectly. And most of them, their ears aren't, like, directly symmetrical. So one is higher up than the other on the either side. And the way it works basically allows them to create that 3D map. It's insane. The smallest owl is the elf owl, and it's only 6 inches tall, and they sometimes live in cacti. And the largest is the Blakiston's fish owl, which has a wingspan of 6.5 feet. It's a very rare bird, but they exist. 6.5 feet wingspan. It's mental. It's so big. One of my favourite owls is the barn owl. It's like one of the most common, but they have little heart-shaped faces. Only like a 95 centimetre wingspan, which is still pretty damn big.
Yeah.
And they're found all over the UK and Europe. And they don't hoot. So owls would normally hoot. These, not all owls hoot. They actually make all different kinds of noises. But barn owls hiss.
Oh.
They hiss, yeah. And one thing I found when I was doing my research is that, like, it basically every belief system or ancient culture or something like that have some kind of spiritual or ritual belief based on owls.
That makes
like
sense.
almost all of them.
Well, yeah, they are. Since they are a animal that is across the globe, everyone can see it, and they all look pretty mad.
Yeah, so sometimes they're seen as like being like gods of wisdom and stuff like that. Other times they're seen as like the ancient Egyptians, they believed owls protected the spirits of the dead while journeying to the underworld.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's like, so cool.
When you look at an owl, you're like, yeah, I can see, I can believe that.
Yeah, so owls are an apex predator. They are like they will kill anything.
So what would kill an owl? Or they just die?
Nothing. Owls are apex predators. Die? Yeah, or maybe another owl. Owls will also eat other owls.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll eat anything. They will just grab it, crush it, and eat it. They don't care what it is. What's your next one?
A new
You're just
fear.
taking that in.
It's a new fear to just...
You just walk around, an owl comes down, it crushes your head, swoops you off.
Honestly, that is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I'm gonna go for a real friendly animal. That is capybaras.
Yeah.
They're great.
World's largest rodent, right?
Yeah, and the world's largest friend.
That's not true.
No. But they are, like, pretty big. They get to about a meter, just over a meter in length. Like, Yeah, like
They're
long
like
ways.
pig-sized.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're like a big pig,
very much big.
but they look like a gerbil.
I think they have actually been known to be called water pigs.
That makes sense. They live by the water. They
Yeah.
get eaten by like alligators and stuff, right? That's their
They
main
have
predator.
a lot of predators, actually. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, when they're around water, they are primarily known to be around like alligators.
Yeah.
So yeah, because they're rodents, their teeth do not stop growing. The type of food that they eat as well. So they mostly eat, like, they're mostly grazing animals.
Yeah.
They would just
Yeah, they
eat
ain't
grass.
predators.
Yeah. Imagine if they were. What would they eat?
It's just a giant hamster. Everything that's around them would eat them. Like they're surrounded by lions and crocodiles and shit.
But usually they're very like social animals. They're just kind of hanging out. They're just minding their own business for the most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so their teeth do not stop growing, so that's why they have the specific diet that they have. And also, in the mornings, they will wake up and eat their own poop to help with their digestion.
Most rodents do that.
Yeah, because of the bacteria that's inside it. It helps them to break down the grass because grass is too difficult to digest. So because of that, they just give themselves a head start by eating their own poop.
Yeah.
Which is also something that sheep do, I believe.
That's called caprophagia. Is that what it's called? Caprophagia?
I can't remember. I didn't write down a specific word for it.
I think it's caprophagia. I'm going to Google it while you're talking about this.
That's right. But also, because they are social animals, they have been kept as pets before. So people do keep them just as, like, you know, how some people keep a pig.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. So, there is this, and then there's all...
Oh, it's called... Sorry to interrupt. It's called coprophagia.
Coprophagia.
Yeah, that's close. I shouldn't have Googled eating poop because I'm getting a lot of scary videos.
Oh god, yeah, that looked horrible. So, as well as being kept as pets, they can be taught commands. So they are among the same kind of intelligence level as your usual house cats,
Dogs.
pet dogs. You can keep a capybara.
Okay.
And also, I saw this somewhere, I'm not putting it down as like a definite fact, but apparently someone did keep one as their seeing eye pet.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna, sure.
Yeah, like, so because you can, because, well, like, yeah, if you're going to rescue one, like, it's not going to cause it any harm if it is kept indoors in, like, a captive environment. Like, yeah, you want them to be able to...
And they're not endangered.
Yeah, they are nowhere near endangered. They're fine.
Yeah, and they don't need big areas, they just need food to chill out.
Sometimes they can be hunted for their fur.
Okay.
But for the most part,
it doesn't matter because people aren't hunting
so many.
because they're dopey looking and their fur ain't that great and there's loads of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I just think it's really cool that capybaras can be kept as pets.
Yeah.
Like, if I ever came to a situation where someone was like, hey, do you want this capybara? Yes. Yes, I do. And it will clean up its own poop.
Well, the first time. Okay, my next one is another apex predator.
Of course.
And that's the grey wolf.
Oh,
I love wolves. They're such pretty animals. They have like a 6 to 8 year lifespan. Not 68, 6 to 8. They weigh anywhere from about 40 to 175 pounds. They're the largest member of the dog family, obviously. It's also the most common wolf, which is why I decided to do those specifically, because they're everywhere and they are really pretty. It's the one you think of when you think wolf, but there are some other really beautiful wolves out there. So they used to be found all over the northern hemisphere of the planet, but now they're only really around in Canada and Alaska and some places in Asia. They live in packs of around 10. They travel 12 miles a day, pretty long. They're social animals and they use howls to communicate, in case you didn't already know that. They have like a ridiculous stamina and they're opportunistic hunters, so they'll eat basically anything. So and if they're chasing something, nothing is going to out-stamina it where they are, basically.
Yeah.
Like, things are faster, but they will just keep going. As long as they can keep like a scent and track them, which they can do really well because they're good at tracking and they've got a really good smell, then they will just keep following them until they run out of...
So there isn't anything that they won't eat? Like, are they
Pretty much.
omnivores or...
No, they're carnivores.
They are carnivores.
Yeah.
They will take any opportunity.
Yeah, and it's normally... Because they're opportunistic, it'll be whatever's the easiest thing that they can get.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's a pack, so they all hunt together. And they're pretty weak on their own. Obviously, I wouldn't want to go up against a grey wolf on my own, but I'd rather it than a pack. So it's believed that wolves were first tamed in East Asia 15,000 years ago. That's not right, is it? That can't be right.
That does not seem
I think that's right, though. It's almost 15,000 years ago they started getting tamed in East Asia.
Carry on.
They can go more than a week without eating, but when they do eat, they eat a lot.
Yeah.
And grey wolves aren't actually all grey. Some are white, brown, and even, on a rare occasion, black.
Yeah. They're the ones that can have that condition, aren't they?
Yeah,
where,
they have a specific genetic thing where they go black.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a rare thing, but it does happen. And, I mean, wolves, I think that's awesome because they're what's called a keystone species, which means that basically their survival is essential to their entire ecosystem. So there's a good example of this. The numbers of grey wolves in Yellowstone National Park dropped to 0 in the 1930s because of hunting.
Yeah.
And then they reintroduced them in 1995. And like when they weren't there, the elk that they would normally hunt started eating so much in certain places and not moving around as much that it started endangering certain plant species.
Oh, wow.
And it also, because they was eating loads of plants in certain areas, it meant other things couldn't eat the things that would normally be there. So it started endangering beaver populations and all kinds of different things.
So it causes like that collapse.
So even just not having wolves there actually made the rivers flow in different ways and endangered all different types of plant and animal species. And it really drastically affected beaver populations. But then when wolves were returned, almost every single species started doing better.
That's insane to think that they are like a staple to their...
Even though realistic, you just think, no, they're just eating everything. No, they are keeping certain populations under control and making things basically run how it should do so that everything can survive how it's evolved to survive.
It's amazing what fear can do for an ecosystem.
That's why dictatorship's a good thing. Unpopular opinion today.
Not what you was expecting when hearing fun facts about grey wolves.
Okay, what you got? What you got next?
This is another one that I've gone for like a very varied one because I didn't know how to get this one down, like narrow it down to one specific one.
Okay.
And that's just seals.
Seals.
So this is where I got the word pinniped from. I'm not very intelligent and I was very proud that I remembered pinniped.
Is that how it's pronounced? I don't think I've heard that term before.
Yeah, so it's basically every seal that you look at is a pinniped, and I believe it is just
of the
large mammals with webbed feet.
Okay.
And also, walruses fit underneath.
Yeah.
There's also this like blanket term of there's this species, and that's the only one when you're looking at it that isn't a seal. When you're looking at the names of like the ones that we do say like what is in here, walruses are the only one that's in this species that isn't called a seal.
Oh, okay, so walrus is the only pinniped that isn't a seal.
Yeah, isn't. Yeah.
Okay.
I like seals just because almost all of them look like friends.
Seal made some great songs.
Wow. So most seals have a dense fur. Like that's like one of the things. So
not as dense as otters, as we now know.
Yes. So most of them are around colder environments, which is why most of them are at risk because they breed on the ice, like, I can't think what I'm going to say.
Yeah, on like ice sheets.
On ice sheets and everything. And because they're not having that much environment, like don't have that environment anymore.
They're not having that much environment.
They don't have that much environment. They don't have those environments to go to.
Yeah, because melting. Because global warming, because humans suck.
Exactly. So they don't have that area. So yeah, seals are endangered mostly. Or at least at risk of being endangered. But because they are in the colder areas, they have their dense fur to keep them warm.
Mm.
But also, but walruses, out of all of the pinnipeds, are actually hairless. So of all of them, the rest of them have dense fur, but walruses
don't.
are just completely
They have
hairless.
they have their whiskers.
They have like a couple of like little bits, but
yeah.
And also that was something that I saw in my
I would
research.
never think of a seal as being furry, but now that you mention it.
Yeah, now that you think about it, because they always look so like sleek, but no, they actually do have a fairly dense fur to keep them warm.
Similar way as like polar bears and basically everything that lives up there.
And Also, you mentioned about the whiskers.
Yeah.
They use those very similar to what a cat does, so they use those to find their prey.
Yeah.
So like even underwater, it helps them to find their prey.
Okay. So does it pick up on vibrations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it finds the vibrations in the water.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of species sleep underwater.
Just holding their breath.
Yep, and they can hold their breath for up to 2 hours.
That's not much of a sleep, is it?
Some species can hold it up to 2 hours, and I'm not sure exactly. I didn't see if they sleep underwater, but they sleep in the water, and they only come out like a lot of.
Because otherwise, polar bears will eat them.
Yeah, so they only really come out to breed and mate and all those kind of things.
Okay.
And just a fun little story that I found. There was an elephant seal in New Zealand called Homer, and it was known for being a menace to the society.
Okay.
He would go around the city flipping cars.
What?
And then also once destroyed a restaurant's power supply box. And he is
because
just
elephant seals are big.
They are the big ones. They are the ones with the nose, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
The ones that I'm sorry to elephant seals. I don't like looking at them.
If there's any elephant seals listening, we apologise.
I'm sorry, but I don't find you aesthetically pleasing.
Okay.
But yeah, seals are great. That's all I had to really say. I like seals.
I mean,
they're friends.
I'm gonna skip a few on mine so we can stick with this because I'm gonna talk about this is the biggest one on my list, but there's a few others I've got left. But this is the biggest one because it just kind of fits in nicely. So you're talking about seals and stuff. I'm gonna talk about bears, and because I'm gonna talk about bears in general. Polar bears are part of that, so I figured I'd continue with that thing. So there's 8 different species of bears alive today. A group of bears is called a sloth.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, I just basically couldn't decide my favourite, so I thought I'd just talk about a few of them. So first we'll go with black bears. So black bears are super climbers. They can run at 35 miles per hour, so you ain't going to outrun it. And there are around 600,000 of them in North America. And they basically are the best survivors of any bear. Like there are loads of them and they can survive everything. They're brilliant. Then we have polar bears. So they're the specialist bears. They are the biggest bears and they are the largest land predator in the world. And nearly 60% of them, 60% of all polar bears live in Canada.
What?
Yeah. The largest recorded polar bear weighed 1,002 kilograms. Yeah,
my Lord.
They are big boys. And they can swim up to 100 miles without resting. And they actually have black skin under their fur.
I've seen this. Isn't it like to keep the warmth that they do have in?
Yeah, essentially. It's to absorb as much heat as possible. And then the white fur is to camouflage them.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, even though they are massive and they're these big apex predators, they can't deal with elephant seals and stuff like that because they're big, scary motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they can't even deal with seals that often because they can't swim as fast as a seal.
Yeah.
So even though they are by far the most badass bear in existence, they're having to deal with such badass animals around them that they're still struggling. And because they would normally hunt by pouncing through the ice onto people, they can't do that.
Onto people?
Well, not onto people, but onto... well, I guess if there's people there, but there's not many. But, onto seals and stuff. But they... because the ice is melting, they are basically starving to death. Not because they're having to swim all the time, because they can swim basically forever.
It's their hunting abilities.
Yeah, they can't hunt, because they can't outswim a seal.
Yeah.
So they can't hunt anymore, so they're starving. Which is awful.
You would think evolution would make them smaller. I'm just thinking, they are the world's biggest
Well, no,
bear.
because it worked perfectly for them until very, very recently.
And now it's too late for evolution to catch up for what we're doing to the planet.
Yeah. And then so moving on. Brown bears. So they're strong as fuck. They're incredibly intelligent, and they're the guys that catch salmon. They're the ones that deal with the salmon fishing when they're going upstream. Yeah. So the strongest and biggest brown bear is the Kodiak bear. Most people would think it's the grizzly bear, which is native to Alaska, but no, it's not. It's the Kodiak bear, which is a different type of brown bear. But pretty much all of them live in Alaska. So almost every brown bear, 98% of them, live in Alaska. And a grizzly bear's bite can crush a bowling ball. That's how powerful its jaw is. It can crush a bowling ball.
Damn.
But yeah, the Kodiak bear is the biggest bear other than the polar bear. It's an average of 680 kilograms, and it's about 8 foot tall at most. Which is basically about the same as most polar bears in height.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I've got some general bear facts.
Nice.
Actually, I'll go with the pun, general bear. A bear once fought in the Polish army in World War II, and it carried shells to the front line.
Oh,
And they taught it to salute.
No.
Yep.
He actually is General Bear.
Yeah. And another one is that bears actually don't eat honey for the honey. Like, they like the honey.
Is it for the bees?
But it's for the brood. It's for the baby bees. Because in the honey chambers and in the things is like thousands of brood,
Yeah,
like
I
larvae,
wasn't expecting
and
to be
they're
right when
full
it
of
was for the bees.
they're full of protein. They definitely don't like the bees because they aren't good at dealing with the stings of bees.
Yeah.
There is one type of bear that is really good at dealing with the stings of bees, and I think it's the sun bear.
Oh, I hate sunbears.
But most bears can't deal with the stings and they hate them, but it's worth it because they get so much protein from the baby bees, and the honey is just an added bonus.
See, I'm sorry. Sunbears are okay, but they are the weirdest looking bear.
Yeah, but they're a very specialised bear.
Yeah.
They're specialised for eating termites and stuff. Like, they tear apart.
Good for them.
They tear apart trees and they eat the bugs inside and
Yeah.
that. So yeah, that's my bear's one. That's my biggest animal, and I think I've got 2 more animals left. Yeah,
Me too.
2 more left. So you take one.
So my next one is the hippo.
The hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus. So, do you know that hippos can't swim or float? So they mostly, like, despite spending most
I
of their...
thought that they were really good swimmers.
So despite spending most of their time in the water, they don't actually swim. They walk along the bottom.
Oh, they just sink down and walk along the bottom, holding their breath.
Yeah, but they don't.
Mad.
But they can't hold their breath for a long time. They can hold their breath for a maximum of around 7 minutes, but usually
Well, that's more than me.
Yeah, but usually only do it in about 4 to 5 minute intervals.
But I swear I've seen hippos swimming or like floating on the top of water and stuff before. That's mad.
It's usually just shallow water then.
Crazy.
Also, I don't know why I didn't know this. They're herbivores.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know. I would have thought they were at least omnivores, but no, they only really, like, they are grazing animals.
Yeah. Although they are also known to be very vicious.
Yeah,
like they kill more people in places where hippos are than almost every other animal there.
Understandably.
Because they're big, scary motherfuckers.
Yeah, so they spend most of their time in water, and then it's usually in the evening they will go out, like when it's cooler.
When it's cooler, yeah.
They will go out and they will do their grazing, and they will travel up to 5 kilometers and then come back.
Huh,
And then
okay.
just hang back out in the water.
So they eat mainly like grasses and stuff like that?
Just like
'Cause I know
normal
I've seen
grazing.
videos of like captive ones being fed like watermelons and stuff because their jaws are incredibly powerful.
Exactly, yeah. But also, when they yawn, it's like most people see, like, you know, when a hippo yawns, their mouth is massive.
Yeah.
That's not actually yawning.
Yeah.
That is them showing,
It's a display.
showing off. Yeah, it's their display. If they see there's like, if they think there's a threatening intruder, they will do that. But yeah, usually I just thought like you would have thought they would have been more dangerous, or like
Well, they are very dangerous.
or that they would have been like a predator. But no.
They don't need to be a predator, but they are dangerous.
are,
Lions
yeah.
won't mess with hippos.
Don't blame
They
them.
are very dangerous. They just don't want to eat meat.
Yeah.
That's fair
I
enough.
just thought hippos were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So my next one, slightly more dangerous. Tigers. Tigers are the apex predator. Like, I mean, obviously it depends where you are, but in general, the way I see it, tigers are the best. Like, they are the best predator. So I'm going to talk mainly about Bengal tigers, but a few just general tiger facts in that. So wild Bengal tigers can live for 10 years and are around 6 foot long and 500 pounds. Whereas like Amur tigers can be up to 10 foot and 660 pounds.
What?
Which is the largest cat in the world.
Uh-huh.
But all tigers are the largest cats in the world, and they're renowned for their power and strength, obviously. So there were lots of tiger species, but most of them have gone extinct due to deforestation, mainly from hunting, basically everything to do with humans. Bengal tigers make up about half of all tigers that are currently around, and they live in India. They're solitary animals, and they're also nocturnal hunters, so they just hang out on their own, hunting at night. A tiger roar can be heard as far as 2 miles away, so the loud boys. They can run an average of 65 kilometers per hour, and every single tiger has unique stripes. Also, I don't know why you'd have to experience this or what kind of research they did to find this out, but a tiger could punch you and you would die. Because tigers are very strong. They don't need to use their teeth or anything. If a tiger slapped you, you would instantly die because they're that powerful.
What a great concept.
Yeah.
Just like, pow, down, gone. Just like Luke Cage.
Tigers also love to swim, and they also play in the water as well. They live for around 25 years if they're lucky, or if they're, in captivity. And a group of tigers is called an ambush or a streak. Although you don't really see a group of tigers very often. It's only really when mating that you'd ever see that, or in captivity. And their saliva is antiseptic.
Okay, yeah. So for like licking wounds and
Yeah.
it's like that's right.
And obviously they are the apex predator. Nothing can kill them, and they kill everything, and they're good at climbing and everything ever. But this is a kind of sad fact that I found. There are as many tigers in cages in Texas as there currently are in the wild around the rest of the world.
Okay, that's it. We need to get rid of Texas.
Because people are allowed to keep them as pets.
What?
Yeah. Because exotic pets are allowed to be done in Texas.
Exotic
the rules
pets
and everything.
should
So
be drawn the line at capybaras.
there are lots and lots of tigers. There are the same amount of tigers in cages in people's homes in Texas as there are around the world. And the number is around 3,000.
That is disgusting.
Yep. And captive tiger numbers just keep increasing because basically, the ones in the wild are. They're dying from natural causes earlier, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're also being hunted still, and they're losing their habitat, so they're dying from that. Whereas the captive ones, well, they are being fed, and they're able to mate, so their numbers just keep increasing. So, within probably the next few years, or the next 10 years at least, there's going to be more captive tigers on the planet than there are wild ones.
That is incredibly sad.
Yeah.
We need to do something. I say we get rid of Texas.
Yeah, let's just get rid of Texas. Sorry to any Texanians listening.
I think that's the word, but
It is now.
The Texanians.
Right, we'll speed this up because we're running out of time.
So this is my last one.
Okay.
And this is the biggest animal on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's the biggest animal.
Or I feel like...
Period.
Okay, you go for it.
It is the world's largest animal. The blue owl.
Yeah. Largest animal that ever existed. Not just today, is larger than any dinosaur of all time ever.
Exactly. I can't even, fathom how big one of these is.
Yeah.
So, I could give you numbers. I didn't actually write down any numbers because, let's be real, all of us just know.
I could give you numbers. I'm not going to.
Let's just be real. We all know that they are huge.
Yeah. Big.
So I thought I'd try and find some facts that not many people know about whales, because let's be honest, we all know a lot of the stuff about blue whales.
Very big. Travel very far. Big.
So they usually only swim around 5 miles per hour. They keep a cruising pace of 5 miles per hour, but they can get up to 20 miles per hour when being chased.
Okay.
And I'm also...
Who the fuck's chasing a blue whale? Killer whales, I would assume.
This is what it said. It said when being chased, and I'm just like, what? Something out there is having some pretty big goals, and I commend it.
I imagine it'll be a pod of killer whales.
And baby blue whales, they will gain 200 pounds a day.
Same.
Every day for a year, only on its mother's milk.
Because of how rich it is in nutrients.
Yeah, but just imagine 200 pounds.
Yeah.
A day. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then also just a little thing, I don't know how common this knowledge is, but I only just found out. Scientists will count the layers of wax inside a blue whale's ear to find out its age.
What?
So kind of when counting the rings of a tree.
But with wax.
But they do it with layers of wax in their ears.
What?
And I just think that's incredible.
That's mad.
And also, I think it was the oldest blue whale that has ever been recorded was 110 years old.
Damn.
Yeah, they're pretty damn old. Which is also weird to think, this animal is huge, and there are turtles older than this. Tortoises, sorry. I always get them confused, but yes, there are other animals.
Speaking of those, sea turtles was almost on my list, but we ran out of time, so I've got one else that I'm going to have to say. But sea turtles were there. They'll probably have to make part 2 if we do one.
That's true.
Along with a few others that didn't quite cut the list. Is there any other blue facts?
Blue facts. No.
No? Okay. So I'll go for my final one, which is by far the smartest animal on our lists. The orangutan.
Orangutans.
The name means man of the forest.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yep. They're critically endangered, obviously, because we suck as a species. They are solitary, unlike almost every other primate. So they spend most of their time alone or with their offspring if they're female. The babies take 10 years to become independent. So mummy orangutans are out there with 10 years training their baby orangutan how to be an orangutan. They can only be found in Borneo or South Sumatra. They spend most of their time in treetops, which means they're deciduous, I believe is the word. And yeah, they just stay in the canopies eating fruit or termites. They live for about the same amount of time as humans, if we didn't have as much good medical healthcare and stuff.
Yeah.
They are super smart and use and create tools. So
These guys with the sticks.
they'll use sticks to get termites out of holes and stuff like that. But also in captivity, they will copy anything that they see humans doing. So they will wear masks or they'll wash their hands during COVID. That's been happening.
Yeah, I've seen this.
And there's some that are using saws and stuff to cut things, and that they literally will just copy what humans do because they learn everything from just watching.
Yeah.
And they have found that orangutans that are grown up around humans actually learn curiosity and imagination because they've grown up around humans and they've been able to, basically because they're safe and they've been able to focus on these things, they learn how to be way more creative and do things that the ones in the wild can't, because for a start they're seeing humans doing it, but also they're able to focus more of their energy and time onto learning new things instead of just surviving.
So yeah,
like they would in the wild.
their energy wouldn't be going to survival, it would be going on to brain development.
Pretty
just
much.
thinking about it like that, they can put...
Yeah, well, it's just
directly...
more of their time isn't spent trying to find food. Instead, it's spent just doing whatever they want to do and learning things, which is kind of what happened with humans as well.
Boredom is what creates
creativity. And obviously helping them seeing us do things obviously helps a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we share 90% of our DNA with them.
Nice.
And the males make these loud bellows and calls that can be heard for miles around, and they often cup their hands around their mouth to increase the volume, which is they're the only species that does that.
So when we do it, actually is a thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It helps increase the volume.
I would have thought it was just like a habit that we had.
No, but it also depends on the noises and stuff like that and the frequencies. Also, their arms are over 7 foot long from fingertip to fingertip when outstretched. So not one arm. If they stretch their arms out, they would be 7 foot long.
Yeah, so they're arm span.
Yeah. So it's over 1.5 times the size of their legs.
Whoa.
So their knuckles drag along the ground. But they're not afraid to just eat using their legs or their hands or whatever. But them arms are obviously just to help them from hanging in tree canopies and stuff like that and reaching for fruit and that. And they're just majestic as fuck. They have beautiful orange hair and their eyes are they're so human-like.
Yeah.
And there's one orangutan in particular that I have to talk about. And that's Rajang from Colchester Zoo. So Rajang was not just a local hero, but he was on BBC News. His death was actually
Wasn't he
on
one of the
BBC News.
oldest orangutans?
He was, but he was actually made famous for kissing baby bumps of visitors. Whenever there would be a baby, people would go to him and he would kiss the baby bump.
Yeah.
He was such a gentle, awesome person.
I met Rajang one time, not I guess technically in person.
Yeah.
There was glass in the way. So as you said about mimicking behaviour,
Yeah.
this was actually a situation where he was sitting in the corner watching the people going around and he was bobbing his head.
Yeah.
So I went over to him and I just joined him and he seemed so fascinated that I just went over and just joined him in this odd behaviour. He just was sitting there just kind of swinging as if he was in a rocking chair without the chair.
Yeah.
And I just joined him and he just seemed so fascinated with me. And it made me feel so warm inside just thinking this animal is looking at me and understanding me.
He was awesome.
In a way, he was an incredible
I remember
creature.
one time when I went with my dad and I was quite young and he was sitting with his face just pushed up against the glass, the orangutan, Rajang.
Yeah.
He was just sitting with his face pressed up against the glass and he was there for on like a solid half an hour, maybe longer than that. And then like he was there the whole time. Was there just sitting there, dead still, with his face pushed up against the glass. The visitors were just like, "What is he doing?" And then we were staying there for ages, just hanging out. And then we like walked around the zoo, came back. He was still there. We kept seeing him there. Eventually, we were standing there for a while, and he got up, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna do stuff. He's actually doing stuff." And then he just ran around. And then went to the other side of the glass on the other side of the cage, sat down and pushed his face up against it again. And I was just like, what a tease. Obviously, that's not what he did all the time. It's just that one day he felt like doing that, apparently.
Rajang was incredible. I do remember all the times going over and seeing it because of like where it was our local zoo.
Yeah.
And it was just like close enough for us to be able to just like travel to for like a little day out if you wanted to, like with your family.
Yeah.
And I just remember every single member of every family, everyone who would walk past was just like, "Oh my god, it's an orangutan!" It was like, "It's Rajang!"
Yeah.
There were a couple of other ones there, but he was definitely a more.
He was there on his own for a very, very long time.
And he was
then
very
they got
like
friends.
he was very people facing. Like he would sit by the window and just kind of hang out with people, and it was great. Like it was incredible to see him, and it was really sad. Like it was devastating news for almost everyone I knew.
Yeah, he was like 50 years old.
I think he was 55, wasn't he?
Something like
that.
Yeah, which is old for an orangutan. They normally live, you know.
Oh, it was at 50.
Yeah, they normally it's like 45, 50. It's the same as a human would if it was in the wild.
He was born on the 14th of June, 1968.
Yeah.
And this one goes out to Rajang.
Yeah, hell yeah.
This is definitely where we need to end this.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this first episode back, season 2 of the As Yet Untitled podcast. Hope you like the theme song as well. Let us know if you enjoyed this.
Let us know what you think of our opinions. If you want to share your own opinions, we will listen to them.
Yeah, and if you want to hear us make an episode, part 2 of this, please let us know. And also give us some other animals, because there's plenty more that have cool facts. Tell us other ones you want to hear about. Yeah.
We do like learning, so just let us know.
Yeah, and next week's episode, we're going to be talking about rom-coms, romantic comedy films.
Yep, going back to, I say our roots as if we have like a very deep-rooted theme here. No, we're just going to go back to looking at films because, well, that's what we spend a lot of our time doing. We're in quarantine.
We're in films. So yeah, we'll talk about rom-coms, so let us know what your favourite rom-coms are.
And we'll speak to you another time.
Yeah. Make sure you follow us at the As Yet Untitled podcast.
Facebook, Instagram.
And wherever you get your podcasts.
Goodbye.
See you next time.